2025 is almost over, and man, this year has been great for so many reasons, but one of them was the fact that Nintendo was absolutely cooking when it came to their releases. We got the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, as well as some of the best games the company has made in their history, all being released within the last 12 months. But not everything the company put out this year has been a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. In fact, there's some stuff that I think are straight up garbage. In today's video, I want to go over every single game Nintendo released this year for the Switch and the Switch 2, including the Switch 2 editions, and rank them all from worst to best. However, I won't be doing this all alone. I'll be joined by Akari, who's edited some of my videos in the past. We each made our own rankings, averaged them out, and made some slight changes to create this final one, but if you're interested in seeing our individual rankings, those will be at the end of the video. So with that being said, yo guys, Crazytendo here, and this is our ranking of every 2025 Nintendo game.
Okay, so Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition is an $80 game, and it really is not worth it. First of all, the original Super Mario Party Jamboree on Switch was pretty good. It's not as good as old Mario Party games, but for the Switch, it was probably the best Mario Party we got. The $80 Switch 2 edition of the game adds Jamboree TV. Unlike all the other Switch 2 edition games we've got this year, it keeps the main game running like it did on the Switch 1. There are no graphical enhancements, and it's just Mario Party, but it'd still be nice to play the game in 4K maybe, especially since all the models are in 4K in the Jamboree TV expansion. Basically, when you turn on the game, it's going to have you select between Mario Party Jamboree and the Jamboree TV bonus. So you're paying $20 for an upgrade that doesn't even upgrade the main game. Now, what you get in Jamboree TV mode is a couple new, mini games, and they all revolve around the Switch 2 camera, which is an additional accessory that you have to buy. If they wanted to sell the camera, maybe bundle this in with the camera, and instead of even doing a Switch 2 version of the game, just sell the camera, and when you get it, you also get the Jamboree TV expansion for the game, especially since this doesn't even upgrade the graphics of the main game. So it's basically $20 for a DLC that you need an additional accessory for. Overall, we're putting this at 2.5 out of 10.
Coming in 14th place, we have Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Was this really necessary? The game released on January 16th, right at the start of the year, on the same day as the Switch 2 trailer, which obviously overshadowed this game's release. And just look at this game. There's really no reason to get this game if you've already played it on the Wii or the 3DS, especially because there's no new content at all. Visually, the game looks really bland, and the colors look a lot more desaturated compared to the Wii version of this game. And also, $60 for a bare bones port of a Wii game in 2025 is crazy. While the original game is beloved, this game is not worth the money. There's no new content, the colors look worse, and there's no new funky mode. Overall, I give this a 3.5 out of 10.
Drag X Drive is a game we did not expect, and we also didn't play it. Can't really talk a lot about the gameplay because I refuse to buy it because I'm cheap, but it is a cheap game. It is only $20 on the eShop. Now, I don't really think it's that interesting of a concept or interesting visually. I think it's a good thing for Nintendo to put out these cheap eShop games once in a while. If they could just keep, producing maybe better games, but putting them out on the eShop for a low price. Overall, not much to say about Drag X Drive. I'm going to be putting it at 3.5 out of 10. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Now, people hate this game, especially somebody like Crazytendo. He actually put this at the bottom of his list. That's a little spoiler for later. It's not that bad. It is only $10, and it is basically just a game where you walk around and you learn stuff about the Switch 2. It is for nerds, and I think that's why it's not a pack-in game. The true pack-in of the Nintendo Switch is Mario Kart World. Most people are buying the bundle with Mario Kart World. This game does not need to be a packing game. It's just a cheap little, $10. Have some fun. Check out these tech demos. And there are some pretty interesting tech demos. They have a bunch of games based off the Switch 2's unique features, at least compared to the Switch 1. They have a 4K version of 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. and it slides across the screen as you progress the level. Now, it's still not a great game. You basically just walk around and hit A on a bunch of little locations to progress in the game, and eventually you go all the way through the Switch and on the inside and across all the controllers. It's cute, but it's not a very big game, and I think $10 is the perfect price for this. Overall, I think it's an overhated game, but it's still not great, so we're going to give it a 3.5 out of 10.
Wow. The Super Mario Galaxy games are masterpieces. Is what I would say if I was some random guy from like, I don't know, Virginia. Don't get me wrong, the Super Mario Galaxy games are great, but this release confused me. I mean, I guess this ties into the Mario Galaxy movie releasing this year, but we already got Galaxy 1 on Switch, so this is literally the second time we're getting Galaxy 1 on the Switch, which is weird. Sure, 3D All-Stars did get discontinued, but that doesn't change the fact that this game is already on the Switch. Also, $70 for 2 Wii games is kind of crazy, but I mean, it's still better than $60 for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, I'll give it that. This re-release package of both of the games does have like new visual changes. Some of the textures do look worse than the Wii version, and also I'm not really a big fan of the new font they use. It does look worse than the original ones in my opinion, but some of the other additions are cool, like the soundtrack menu. That's pretty much it for new additions actually. What is cool about this release though is that you can get both games individually, so like if you already have 3D All-Stars, you don't need to buy the full game, you can buy Galaxy 2 on its own on the eShop, but buying both games together as a package is $10 cheaper than buying them separately. Overall, I mean the Super Mario Galaxy games are great, and Galaxy 2 technically is a new release for the Switch, so I'll give it that. $70 is asking a bit much for this, but at least the Galaxy games are better than Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and you're getting 2 Wii games instead, so all in all, I'll say this game is a 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 10 is the Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Out of all the Switch 2 editions that were shown off in the April Direct, this one surprised me the most, as I completely forgot this game existed and I thought Nintendo did as well. Kirby and the Forgotten Land on the Switch is definitely one of the best games on that system. It was absolutely incredible seeing Kirby jump to the 3rd dimension for the very first time, and this Nintendo Switch 2 edition doesn't disappoint. First of all, it does give the game an increased frame rate and resolution, jumping from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, and that FPS increase makes the gameplay more smooth, which is great for a platformer game. Starcross World also does so much more than Jamboree TV did in terms of being a Switch 2 edition with actual content as an upgrade, as Starcross World is pretty much half of the game's levels getting remixed, similar to Mario 3D World's Special Worlds. So it is worth the $20 upgrade since you're pretty much getting half of the game's worth in new levels. I mean, sure, these aren't complete new levels, but they do offer enough differences in unique gameplay to make it worth it. The game also has new mouthful modes, for example the gear, the sign, and the spring, and these are also pretty fun and creative, I'll give it that. There aren't any major complaints for the Switch 2 edition of this game, except maybe that the final boss was too similar to the first game, just harder. Technically it is a different character, but the fight itself was very similar. Overall, the visual and frame rate upgrades are great for this game. The Crystal Star assets in the Starcross world look really good on the Nintendo Switch 2, and while there were no complete new levels, these remixes are still pretty fun, and I'd say that this game is definitely worth the $20 upgrade if you have it already on Switch 1, and if you don't, well then you absolutely gotta get Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Nintendo Switch 2. But overall, we gave the Switch 2 edition a 6.25 out of 10.
Next up is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition. I don't think I ever had any problems with the way Breath of the Wild ran on the Switch 1, but the Switch 2 version bumps up the frame rate to 60 FPS, which just makes it buttery smooth, and of course, the graphics increase. I'm not sure if it's quite 4K or just 1440p. Originally, Breath of the Wild was 900p, which would scale down, and 30 FPS max, although some areas like the Korok Forest did not even hit 30 FPS. On this version, it's completely fixed. 60 FPS across the entire game. It is a $70 game 8 years after it came out, which isn't great. And you also don't get any of the DLC that was in the original version of the game. So you buy that on top of it, you're looking at like $90. Now, I don't think it's required that you buy the upgraded version, especially because on the Switch 2 hardware, even if you don't have the upgrade, you still get slightly faster loading times and stable 30 FPS frame rate, even in more laggy areas on the base Switch 1. So it is a terrific game, and it looks gorgeous. but it is a little bit expensive considering how long ago it came out, and no DLC included I think is kind of a throwaway here. I think you really could have made a definitive Breath of the Wild edition, throw in the DLC, throw in the 60 FPS for $70. Instead of DLC, what you get with this version is some Nintendo Switch Online extras. You get a GPS that basically just tells you where every location in the game is. You also get additional content with Zelda sharing like random stories around the world. No one really is going to be using that. I think it kind of breaks the immersion if you're going on your phone in the middle of trying to play this game. So overall, we're giving this a 6.5 out of 10.
Breath of the Wild isn't the only Zelda game to get a Switch 2 edition. Of course, its sequel Tears of the Kingdom had to get one as well. Tears of the Kingdom is an incredible game and my favorite game of all time, but I can't put it at first place in this list because, well, it'd be unfair to judge it as a brand new game when it's really a game that's already released. This is pretty much just based on the fact that it's a Switch 2 edition and how it is as a Switch 2 edition. I mean, first of all, the game itself is still absolutely incredible and looks gorgeous, even more gorgeous when you buy this upgrade pack and get to experience those 4K visuals. The Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition offers similar upgrades to the Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition, but also has auto build share, which Breath of the Wild obviously can't have because it doesn't have auto build. Tears of the Kingdom arguably needs the upgrade a bit more than Breath of the Wild, since it's a newer game that was a bit more limited by Switch 1 hardware, since it was actually made for the Switch 1, whereas Breath of the Wild was made for the Wii U, so it was a bit more laggy in certain areas. And when you buy the Switch 2 edition of this game, the game runs incredibly well. It is so smooth, it's absolutely incredible, especially when comparing it to the Switch 1 edition. The Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom upgrade packs offer similar content, but Tears of the Kingdom's auto build share is a new feature, I guess, which combined with the fact that Tears of the Kingdom objectively is the better game, places this higher on the ranking than the Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Tears of the Kingdom for the Nintendo Switch 2 gets a 7.25 out of 10.
So Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. This game is not a Switch 2 game. It came out right at the end of the Switch 1's life cycle, basically right before we got the Switch 2. And that, I think, really killed this game because even though I'm a Xenoblade fan, I just did not want to buy a Switch 1 game right before the Switch 2 comes out. Now, this game was originally rumored 2017 to come out as a Wii U port alongside like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Unfortunately, that wasn't true, and we had to wait 8 years for it to come out on the Switch, and it was just a little too late by then. But the definitive edition still adds some new stuff, like a couple extra characters, and the ending changed, I believe. Maybe there's some additional story there, but I haven't played the game. Faster load times on the Nintendo Switch version compared to the Wii U version. Improved rendering, I think that's what improves the load times, as well as the improved character models in the game. But my big issue is it came out 2 months before the Switch 2, and they didn't even do a Switch 2 edition, or even just an update to patch it for 60 FPS. Would have made sense, I think. So overall, we're gonna hit this game with a 7.5 out of 10.
Fans of the original Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube got their dream come true this year with the release of Kirby Air Riders, a sequel to that original GameCube cult classic. This sequel was revealed in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct back in April, and from the start it looked very promising, and even more so once Sakurai's Directs were released. Both of those hour-long presentations gave us so much insight into this game, and man, they really gave their 100% with this game. There is so much customization and so much to do, and of course I can't forget my favorite part of the game, Gumi desu. The gameplay feels incredible, the visuals are great, the controls take some getting used to at the start, at least for me, but once I got used to them, I had an absolute blast playing this game. Also, Kirby Air Riders has one of my favorite main menu designs ever. My only sort of complaint with this game was City Trial took some getting used to at the start for me at least, and I'm still kind of getting the hang of it, but there is definitely a difficulty curve with that game mode. Overall, Kirby Air Riders definitely is a great game. I don't have any major complaints with it, and all in all, I would give this an 8 out of 10. A game that I'd been wanting for ages was a game similar to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, but for Tears of the Kingdom. A Hyrule Warriors game set in the distant past, and that is exactly what Nintendo gave us with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I personally have been wanting this game to come for a long time, and I'm so glad they finally decided to make it. The combat has been improved a ton, and especially the fact that this is a Nintendo Switch 2 game means there's no lag and there's an actual stable frame rate, which makes the game feel absolutely amazing. But of course, you still have that classic Warriors gameplay which feels great. I loved slashing through huge groups of enemies in Age of Calamity, and it feels even better in this game. The only complaint I have is the story isn't as good as Age of Calamity, similar to how Breath of the Wild story was better than Tears of the Kingdoms, and I felt that the story was getting a bit slow at times, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. They add so many new things, such as sync strikes and zonai devices, so overall I would say it's a great sequel to Age of Calamity, and I would say it's even better than that game in many ways, and also the fact that you can play in ancient Hyrule is really cool. So Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment gets an 8.5 out of 10. Despite the bad reputation it's been getting online, Pokemon Legends ZA is a really good game, and it's a shame that it looks terrible, because if it didn't, I'm sure more people would give it a chance. Yeah, the game really does not look that great. The frame rate is fine at least. That's an achievement for the Pokemon series. But with all that being said, the gameplay is really fun. The real-time combat they introduced with this entry is such an incredible change, and it feels like the Pokemon series should have done this a long time ago. However, it is a shame that the game only takes place in one city, and I hope the DLC would have added new areas, but no, it's just Lumio City all over again. Regardless, I had so much fun with Pokemon Legends EA, and currently I'm trying to complete the Pokédex and get the Shiny Charm, and I still have to do the DLC. I haven't actually started it yet. Also, the fact that Mega Evolution is back for this game just makes it even better, because Megas are the best gimmick Pokemon has made out of the 4 gimmicks they have so far. If you can look past the bad visuals in this game, Pokemon Legends EA has a lot to offer. There's lots of fun to be had. It's still a Pokemon game, you still, catch Pokemon, make a team, fight your rival, blah blah blah, but that real-time combat truly is a game changer. It is absolutely incredible. Yeah, sure, it is completely different and not at all what the series has had, but that's what makes it so fun, and that's why it is a Pokemon Legends title and not a mainline game. So yeah, if you can look past those bad visuals, I would highly recommend this game. Pokemon Legends EA is truly a great game, and it deserves a 9 out of 10. After 11 years, the Nintendo Switch 2 finally gave us a brand new Mario Kart game, that being Mario Kart World. Sorry Tour fans, but Mario Kart Tour does not count as a new mainline Mario Kart game. Mario Kart World truly is phenomenal. I mean, it's an open world Mario Kart game where all the tracks are connected and you can drive between them. That also happens to be the downside of the game. Driving between tracks seemed cool when first revealed, but they're mostly just like almost straight, boring paths with nothing going on them. And also we can't forget that one update at the very start where Nintendo changed the way online worked and made it so that intermission tracks appeared more frequently. Like, the entire internet was raging when Nintendo dropped that update. Thankfully, they did drop another update after that where they made them a bit less likely or increased the chances of a regular track coming or something like that. And also, quite recently, they dropped another update where they fixed some of these boring intermissions. Which, I mean, thank you Nintendo. That's honestly, I did not expect them to go ahead and do that, but I mean, I'll take it. However, in versus mode, you can still play just the 3 laps on each of the tracks. And speaking of the tracks, this game has, well, the tracks are alright. Some of them are really good, like Question Block Ruins might be one of my favorite tracks in the entire series. And this game's Rainbow Road is my favorite in the entire series. But then there's tracks like Peach Stadium 1. I'd say overall the tracks in this game are more on the positive side, but there are definitely some low lows. And since all the tracks in this game are connected, there is also free roam, which is really cool, but also not really because there's no incentive to play it. You just drive between the tracks. There's P-Switch missions, there's Peach medallions, and there's question mark panels, but they just give you these little stickers and there's no real reason to get them at all. Free roam was really cool at the start when the game first came out for the first few days, but I've barely played it since launch. However, one of the other things this game added was Knockout Tour, which is easily one of the best things Nintendo has ever added in a Mario Kart game. This is literally Mario Kart in the most chaotic state possible. It is so chaotic, but it is so fun to play Knockout Tour with friends. Now that it's been a few months since the game released and the criticism has passed, I feel that especially since we got really spoiled with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and the Booster Course Pass on the Switch, I think they really did a good job with this game. It is a standard, regular, fun Mario Kart game with 8 cups, 8 Knockout Tour rallies, lots of fun to be had with friends, and this is definitely going to satisfy a whole new generation of gamers. So all in all, I think Mario Kart World definitely deserves a 9 out of 10 rating. Donkey Kong Bonanza marks the Big Ape's return to the third dimension for the first time in over 20 years, and also this is the first new Donkey Kong game in general in over a decade. Now, obviously, this is a game that fans have been wanting for ages, and it's incredible that we're finally getting it, especially the fact that it's made by the same team behind Super Mario Odyssey, like those rumors were saying back in 2021. You can also definitely tell that this was made by the Odyssey team, because there's a very similar gameplay feeling and a lot of similar UI elements. The game is genuinely one of the best 3D platformers I have ever played. The movement is so smooth. There's so many movement options and tech you can do once you learn how to master Donkey Kong's controls. The destruction mechanic is great. I absolutely had a blast with it, and the best part is it's not really forced upon you. Like it's definitely one of those gimmicks that can get tiring after some time, but it's barely even forced upon you. Like destroying and digging through the floor, that's completely optional for the most part. There's no one forcing you to do all that. Heck, no one's even forcing you to get any of the collectibles in the game. You can beat the game without collecting a single Bonandium gem. Similar to the moons in Super Mario Odyssey, there are a ton of Bonandium gems to collect in this game, and for every 5 Bonandium gems you collect, you get a skill point, and there's an entire skill tree in this game, which, I mean, I did not expect Donkey Kong to get a skill tree system, but I'm all for it. I also gotta say that this game has some incredible layers, with some of the standouts being the Canyon layer, the Freezer layer, the Forest layer, the Tempest layer, and the Feast layer. I found all of those such a blast to play through. Another thing that this game does new is the Bonanza transformations, which are unique and fun power-ups that you can get. There's 5 of them in the game, all based around a certain animal, and they're found in 5 separate layers in the game. These are all pretty fun, though if I had to choose one of them for being the worst one, it would probably be the snake one. Since it's kind of basic, you can kind of slow down time and jump high, but that's about it. All the other ones are really fun. I gotta give a shout out to the elephant one. I love sucking up the gold in the racing layer. It's so fun to farm gold with this thing. My only big complaint with this game is the boss fights. I found them very underwhelming and easy. Besides the final boss, I'm not going to spoil that in case anyone hasn't played the game yet, but the final boss is incredible. But all the other bosses in the game that you find in the layers, yeah, those were kind of underwhelming and very easy to beat. And also there's a $20 DLC for this game, which should have been free or at least $10. But overall, like I mentioned, Donkey Kong Bonanza is one of the best 3D platformers I have ever played, and I am so happy that the Super Mario Odyssey team made this. I mean, yeah, we're never gonna get Super Mario Odyssey 2, but this really is the next best thing, and I'm all for it. I'd say it's almost as good as Super Mario Odyssey, so overall we give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Here is our number 1 game, and this one is going to make some people mad, but it is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I'm a big Metroid fan, mostly 2D Metroid. I've actually never really been that into the Metroid Prime games. 8 years ago, Nintendo announced Metroid Prime 4, and of course, in 2019, they said that the game was terrible and they had to scrap it. So this game has been about 6 years in development. I think it was worth it. It is a beautiful game. It runs amazingly on the Switch 2. I'm not sure about the Switch 1 version. On Switch 2, you can choose between 4K 60 or 1080 120. And I mean, I've been playing in 4K 60 on a big 4K TV, and it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Now, you can't just, make a pretty looking game. It has to be good. And in my opinion, it is very fun. It doesn't do anything too crazy. It really does just feel like another Metroid Prime game. I think the boss fights are done really good in this game. I think the rate at which you level up is done very good. I think there's always a point in a Metroid game where you're basically just hit with new ability after new ability after new ability, and you don't really get a chance to develop any of them. I think this game, it spreads them out enough throughout the about 12 hours of playtime. There are some really stupid characters in this game, like Miles, who is literally just a nerd, and nobody likes him. And I think they could, just patch him out, just remove him from the game. Most of the new abilities are kind of just psychic branded, but they're pretty simple. I mean, they're cool, but they're nothing we haven't seen in Metroid before. A big complaint for this game is the desert. It's basically a big open area between all of the sub areas that you actually spend most of your time exploring. You kind of just drive straight until you get there. It also doesn't look that great compared to the rest of the game, in my opinion. It seems like they just wanted an open type area for the game, but it really didn't need to be there. I think they could have done a much better job with that. We waited so long for this game, and I do think it was worth the wait. A lot of people are having more issues, especially with the desert and the characters. For me, they're not deal breakers, as the main gameplay more than enough makes up for it. So overall, I'm putting this at 9.75 out of 10.
While not everything Nintendo put out this year was the best, 2025 did give us some incredible titles like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4, which more than make up for the bad titles like Super Mario Party Jamboree TV. If you're interested in our individual rankings, they are on screen now. Thank you Akari for joining me in today's video, and if you guys stuck around till the end, thank you guys so much for watching as well. And if you did enjoy the video, subscribing and liking the video would be greatly appreciated, as it would help me to create more videos like this one. And if you're interested, I think you guys will like this video on screen where I ranked every single Rainbow Road in the Mario Kart series. But with that being said, yo guys, Crazytendo here, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.